My name is Jake. I'm 30 years old. My family mocked me for being broke, not realizing I was the one secretly paying their bills. My aunt laughed as they toasted to my supposed failure, calling me a worthless nobody. I stayed silent until this morning. I cut them off completely, canceled every payment, and watched as reality hit them like a brick wall. Funny how fast people change when the money stops flowing. I've always felt like the odd one out in my family, the black sheep with no real job or stable income. Every Sunday dinner at the old family home was a reminder of their disdain, a ritual of mockery rather than bonding. But beneath the surface of my seemingly aimless life, there's a secret world they've never seen. A world where I'm not the failure they believe me to be. What they don't know is that I've been silently supporting them, paying their bills, their mortgage, all while they laughed at my expense. But now, as I sit at my desk, the morning light casting long shadows, I've decided it's time for a change. I've stopped the payments, and the truth is about to come out. What will they do when they realize their comfortable life is about to crumble? I've always been the black sheep of the family. At 30 years old, I'm the one they look down upon, the one without a real job or a stable income. My family, they're all there in that sprawling old family home in the suburbs, a place that used to be filled with the warmth of my childhood memories. Now, it's just a cold reminder of their disdain. Every Sunday we gather for dinner, a tradition that has morphed into a ritual of mockery rather than family bonding. This particular Sunday, the air was thick with the scent of Aunt Linda's famous roast, but the atmosphere was soured by their usual jibes. "Jake, still living in that tiny apartment? When are you going to get a real job?" Uncle Bob would ask, with a smirk, his voice dripping with condescension. Aunt Linda, always the ringleader, raised her glass, her voice thick with sarcasm. To Jake, the family's worthless nobody. They all laughed, clinking glasses, oblivious to the truth. But what they don't know, what they can't possibly understand, is the secret I've been keeping from them. Beneath the surface of my seemingly aimless life, there's a world they've never seen. A world where I'm not the failure they believe me to be. You see, while they're busy judging me for not having a conventional career, I've been working on something far more significant. Something that could change everything. I've been diving deep into the world of cryptocurrency, not just trading, but developing a new blockchain technology. It's risky, it's volatile, but if it pays off, it could make all their mocking laughter turn into admiration. The next morning, I woke up with a resolve I hadn't felt in years. The constant belittling had worn me down, but it also built a quiet strength within me. For the past 5 years, I've been running a successful online business, selling custom software solutions. My family had no idea that I was not only financially stable, but also the one keeping their lights on. I had been paying their utility, bills, the mortgage, even covering some of their credit card debts, all under the guise of a mysterious benefactor. It was my way of giving back, of showing love despite their scorn. But today, something snapped. I sat at my desk, the morning light casting long shadows across my apartment. With a few clicks, I began the process of severing the financial lifeline I had been providing. I canceled the automatic payments, one by one, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. As I watched the confirmations roll in, I realized this was more than just cutting ties. It was reclaiming my dignity. I thought about the countless hours I spent coding, the sleepless nights, the stress of making ends meet for them without any recognition. I leaned back in my chair, the weight of my decision settling in. I knew what I had to do next. I needed to confront them, not with anger, but with the truth. I would reveal my success, not for their approval, but to show them that their judgments were baseless. I picked up my phone, my fingers hovering over the screen. I typed out a message, simple yet loaded with the weight of years of silent endurance. "We need to talk. I'm coming over tonight." I hit send, feeling a mix of anxiety and anticipation. The first call came from my mother, her voice tinged with confusion and worry. "Jake, have you heard from anyone about the bills? They're all overdue. I could hear the panic in her voice, the realization that their comfortable life was about to change. I remained silent, letting the silence speak volumes. Over the next few days, the calls increased. Uncle Bob, usually so full of himself, was now desperate, asking if I could lend him some money. Aunt Linda, who had mocked me the most, was now calling to ask if I knew of any job openings. The most shocking moment came when Sarah, my cousin, called in tears. "Jake, we're about to lose the house. Please, if you know anything, help us." That's when I decided to reveal the truth. I invited them all over for dinner, the same place where they had ridiculed me. As I walked into the familiar dining room, the air was thick with tension. They were all there, their faces etched with worry and confusion. I took my seat at the head of the table, a position I had never dared to claim before. "I've called you here tonight because there are things you need to know," I began, my voice steady, betraying none of the turmoil inside me. "For years, you've seen me as the family's failure, the one who couldn't make it. But what you didn't know, what you couldn't, see, was that I was the one keeping this family afloat." A murmur spread through the room, a mix of disbelief and curiosity. "I've been running a successful online business, selling software solutions. Not only am I financially stable, but I've been the one paying your utility bills, your mortgage, even some of your credit card debts, all under the guise of a mysterious benefactor." The room fell silent, the weight of my words sinking in. Aunt Linda's face turned pale, Uncle Bob's jaw dropped, and my mother looked like she might faint. "I did this not for your approval, but because I love this family despite the way you've treated me. But now, I've decided it's time for a change." I stood up, clearing my throat. "I have something to tell you all," I began, my voice steady. "For the past 5 years, I've been the one paying your bills, your mortgage, everything. I did it because I love you, despite how you've treated me." The room fell silent, the weight of my words sinking in. Aunt Linda's face turned pale, her usual bravado gone. Uncle Bob looked down at his plate, unable to meet my eyes. My parents were speechless, their expressions a mix of shock and guilt. Aunt Linda was the first to break the silence. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Jake, you've been doing all that for us?" Her eyes, usually so sharp with judgment, now glistened with unshed tears. Uncle Bob, his face flushed with embarrassment, finally looked up. I had no idea. I'm sorry, Jake. I really am." His apology was sincere, but the years of mockery echoed in the room, making his words feel hollow. My mother reached out across the table, her hand shaking. "Jake, why didn't you tell us? We've been so blind, so cruel to you." Her voice broke, and I could see the regret etched deeply into her features. My father, always the stoic one, cleared his throat, his voice thick with emotion. "Son, we owe you an apology. We've been living in a bubble, not seeing the real you, not appreciating what you've done for us." Sarah, my cousin, who had been silent until now, spoke up, her voice soft but firm. "Jake, I'm sorry for all the times I didn't stand up for you. I should have known better." She wiped her eyes, the realization of the family's collective failure hitting her hard. I looked around the table, seeing the transformation in their faces. The disdain had turned to respect, the mockery to admiration. "I didn't do it for your gratitude," I continued, "but because I believed in family, in us. But now, I need you to understand something. I'm not just the black sheep anymore. I've built something significant, something that goes beyond just financial stability. It's about innovation and creating a legacy. I've been developing a new blockchain technology, one that could revolutionize how we think about digital transactions. It's risky, it's volatile, but if it pays off, it could change everything." The silence was broken by Sarah, who stood up, her voice trembling. "Jake, why didn't you tell us? We've been so wrong about you." Her words opened the floodgates. Apologies came from every direction, mixed with explanations and excuses. I raised my hand to stop them. "I didn't do it for your gratitude or to prove a point. I did it because family should support each other, even when they don't deserve it. I paused, letting the gravity of my next words sink in. But now, I need you to understand the value of what you've taken for granted. I'm not cutting you off forever, but you need to learn to stand on your own. The room was heavy with the weight of my revelation. Aunt Linda, her voice now soft and contrite, said, "Jake, we've been so blind. You've carried us all this time, and we didn't even see it." Her words were a stark contrast to her earlier mockery. Uncle Bob, his usual bravado replaced by humility, added, "I've been a fool, Jake. I thought I knew everything, but I was wrong about you. I'm truly sorry." My mother, tears streaming down her face, reached for my hand. "We've taken you for granted, Jake. You've shown us what real strength looks like, and we've been too proud to see it." My father, his voice thick with emotion, nodded in agreement. "We've misjudged you, son. You've not only supported us financially, but also shown us the depth of your character. We owe you more than just an apology." Sarah, still standing, her eyes red from crying, added, "Jake, you've changed how I see family, how I see myself. I promise we'll make it right." I looked at each of them, their faces now filled with a mix of shame, respect, and newfound admiration. I want to see you all grow from this, to see us become a family that supports each other in truth, not just in convenience. In the weeks that followed, the family dynamics shifted. My parents, once so dismissive, started looking for part-time jobs. Aunt Linda, who had always lived beyond her means, began to manage her finances more carefully. Uncle Bob, the loudest critic, even apologized genuinely this time. His words were not just empty promises, but carried the weight of his newfound humility. The reference to Mark seems out of place as he is not mentioned elsewhere. It should be Sarah, now aware of the reality, started to appreciate the small things, like the electricity that kept their lights on. They learned to value the mundane, the everyday miracles that I had been silently providing. I didn't resume the payments immediately. Instead, I watched as they adapted, as they learned to value what they had. Eventually, I did help them out again, but this time, it was with conditions, with the understanding that they needed to contribute as well. Family dinners became less about mockery and more about genuine connection. They learned a hard lesson about humility and gratitude, and in a way, so did I. I learned that sometimes you have to let go to teach the value of holding on. This experience changed my relationship with my family in profound ways. The disdain was replaced by respect, the mockery by admiration. They saw me not as the black sheep, but as the backbone that had held them together. Aunt Linda, once the ringleader of my ridicule, now sought my advice on financial matters. Uncle Bob, humbled by the truth, often asked about my work, genuinely, interested in the world of technology I had been building. My parents, they started to see me as an equal, not just their son, but a person with his own strengths and achievements. Sarah, my cousin, became my ally. She stood by me, not just in gratitude, but in a newfound understanding of family. We talked, not just about the past, but about the future, about how we could make our family stronger, more supportive. As for me, I realized that my success wasn't just about financial stability or proving a point. It was about fostering a family environment where everyone felt valued. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you!